So, Rep Danny Alvarez, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, my brother. How are you?
I appreciate you being here.
I can't tell you I'm excited. I keep watching other people on the show. I was like, bro, where am I at?
Where's my invite,
That's
bro?
exactly right.
And here you are.
And here we are.
So tell people who you are and what you represent.
So District 69, southeastern Hillsborough County. It's kind of like a weird angle. You get off the Selman, that's me. And then it jogs down to the southeast corner, Fishhawk, Brandon, Valrico, parts of Riverview.
But not the coast.
Not the coast. It doesn't even touch Waimama. So Waimama is actually Michael Owen, former county commissioner. And then he goes from my west side all the way to the coast.
So we were talking about not you specifically, but you and your colleagues have to work with the governor, right? That's how
right.
the job sort of works. And you were just discussing that relationship there.
Sure. Just like at a city council, like if we nug it down, at a city council, the mayor and the city council, they have a relationship. They can talk, they talk. When you have a governor, that's the same thing. You know, we're supposed to be able to do that. And his office, we work hand in hand, because when we craft policy, it's a whole lot better, you know, to know that, you know, we're in agreement, and if we're not, what do you need to see to get this thing across the line? So relationships in politics, especially at the state level, are vital, because you got to convince 120 people in the House, and then we always joke around that you have to convince 40 like warlords over in the Senate, and then you got to go get the governor to make sure he doesn't veto. So you don't get to just be a bully. You don't get to just think, oh, I have a wonderful idea, and not be able to back it, sell it, and then get it across the line.
You have to work with people in this business.
If you don't, you might as well just not run for office.
And what's like the short on the actual job of getting a law passed? You know, your constituency brings up a concern, you bring that concern to Tallahassee, you discuss it with your colleagues, you talk to the governor, and it kind of progresses from there.
This is what I tell people. It's like a gauntlet where you're running in the middle, and they've got really strong bats. If you can make it all the way to the end, you're the winner. Welcome to the Survival Fest.
It's a good thing, though, right, that it's hard to pass laws, because otherwise it would just be kind of a shit show back and forth.
You want inefficiency. Like the federal government is built-in inefficiencies. When we first started, and the state of Florida is even more so, okay? When we founded the state of Florida, we believed in a decentralized government. We feared a strong executive, remember, like the king and all that stuff. So when we actually founded the government, the governor is the executive and CEO, and there was 7 other co-equal executive branch members that do not work for the governor, right? And why? So at the federal level, if you don't like what the Bureau of Land Management is doing, you have one option: get rid of the president, right? You don't vote for the bureaucrats. But in Florida, we've divided some of those tasks into different departments. So for example, your ag secretary is actually the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, guns, weights and scales, fuels, forestry. When you go to the Florida festival, the Florida Fair, they go to make sure those things are safe, and they certify them. That's the Department of Agriculture. Now, it's because we want someone personally accountable. Your CFO is the head firefighter. Most people don't get that, right? So today, instead of 7, we have 4. The governor, CEO, is in charge of certain things. The attorney general, the ag guy, and then the CFO.
Those are all elected positions.
Elected and co-equal executive members of the branch.
Co-equal.
Right. So they don't work for the governor. They have a relationship with the governor. They get elected on their own. They have their own budget. They have their own world. So
if the governor, for whatever reason, didn't like the agriculture commissioner, he can't just be like, we're going to replace that person.
They'll go to war, right? They can either go to war, they can be friends, or they can try to work together. Remember, relationships, putting Florida first and getting to the mission. But
and right now, politically, as it all sits, the Republicans have people in each of those seats, right? Governor and all the rest of them, or no?
They have right now we have all the cabinet, a super majority in the House, and I believe it's a super majority in the Senate as well. Now, but the thing is, you would think, okay, we can run the tables. And technically that's a true statement. But what ends up happening is you still got to do the work. It's good policy is good policy. Bad policy, lazy, or ideas that are not well fleshed out, or not really balanced against their constitutional basis, or they're just kind of bobo ideas. Those don't, you would expect, oh, I'm a Republican, I can push that idea through. That's not how that works.
That's not how that works.
That's not how that works. And think about this too, brother. You have different levels of members of each side, right? There's some hardcore Democrats that are super to the left, and that's their brand. That person may not vote for the same thing that like maybe more to the center Democrat. And we have the same thing on our side, right? There's some Republicans that come from constituencies that are more balanced. For example, my district, when I first started, was a +2 Republican district, right? So essentially it's a negative, right? That's like, it's a 0-0. You have to go get Democrats to vote for you, no party affiliation, and Republicans. Maybe that's kind of what we want, right? Because we have this balanced approach. Some districts, man, as long as they don't stomp on a picture of Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump, they're getting reelected because it is blood red, blood. And then like Broward, don't be a Republican going to Broward thinking you're going to get elected. It's just not going to happen. So there's a balance, and that's rich in there. So you still have to go convince people, because even if you're a Republican from Broward, that doesn't mean they're going to do everything that you want them to do at the super hard R, because they have to go home and still look at people that are soft R, light blue, hard blue.
So this has been a topic for a long time, right? The whole like gerrymandering and the districts. It's always seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from an angle of party affiliation, and population plays a role too, right?
Absolutely.
But what about the way people live within those districts? So one thing that I've been tracking is the relationship between the city and the county, and how constituencies out in, the suburban county are obviously have different needs from people that live in the urban core of Tampa. Right. But the representation line doesn't stop in that urban area. I think it would be interesting if the districts in the future could recognize lifestyle, right? Like not demographics in terms of race or income, none of that, right? But the person that lives in a gated community or lives on 10 acres in Brandon has a different need, and they want to pay for different services 100%. Than the person that lives in the urban core of the city. Has that ever been a discussion at like how these things are drawn?
All the time.
Yeah.
So if we look at on a glide slope, right? I've been here since after I got out of the Army, 2003, I landed back in Florida. I'm from Florida originally. And even back then, we were trying to get a little bit more representation in adding a member to the county commission. When I was added to the Charter Review Board, Sandy Merman added me to the Senate, that we tried it. We tried to bring more. And at that time, we were saying that West Tampa and going into Carrollwood needed their own voice, because it was a different voice than South Tampa or Apollo Beach, right? So, or inside the county. Even today, this last session, I ran a bill because of what your concerns are. Like in Hillsborough County, I represent the East Side, okay? And the East Side has one dedicated county commissioner, 3 county-wides, right? And then I've got a partner in the House to my north, that's Lawrence McClure right now, and a partner to the south that takes care of like half of my area, Michael Owen. But on the county basis, right, when we look at resource allocation, it's ultra frustrating, right? Yeah. This is our growth basis. We know it's development central. The sheriff added a new district in the last 10 years to allocate for that. I think they're considering another one because the population is so big. So those people are frustrated when you take their dollars, right, and limit it to the urban core and say, this is, the economic machine. Okay, cool. I still need roads. We're like 28 fire stations shy on our side of the county, but the impact fees were collected, right? So those impact fees, where'd they go? And so everyone's always like, oh, it's the people that were elected before us. All right, that's fine. We have to deal with the problem now. You could always divide the county in half. And I promise you that there's people that are advocating, because I hear it all the time. Let's go straight down the middle, right? And we'll take 275. Everything to one side is one county, everything to the other is another. And therefore, we'd have reflective basis of our dollars staying here.
That's interesting.
So that was it's possible, but how probable? Not likely, right? Like, to divide a county in half, especially with the economic engine that this one is hard. So the easiest answer is often the one that's like the most simple in your face. We represent 180,000 people per district. We are single member districts as state reps. Why can't we apply that to counties like Hillsborough County? So I ran a bill last time reflective of smaller counties that said each each county commission and each school board will be single member districts dependent on population size of that county. You can do more than the prescribed, but you can't do less. So, for example, in my plan, Hillsborough would have gone from 7 county commissioners, 4 districts plus 3 county-wides to 9 single member districts. And then what happens then? Think about this, brother. Each person has to be friendly to the other.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, Carrollwood needs a new school. All right, I need more roads over here. What's our plan, right? And now we're working together, but we have advocacy for each one. Do you know, like Josh Wolstel, one of my faves of all time, right? Josh represents more people than 11 states in the union.
Crazy.
And we are actually the 11th largest media market. So the cost for Josh or Chris Bowles or Donna, the cost for them to message properly and to each one of those is millions of dollars, right? Think about what the governor of New Hampshire has to do, right? That's what they have to do. Practicality speaking, they're not going to raise that, okay? They're just not going to do it. So what do? They concentrate, or not them necessarily, but whoever's in that spot concentrates on where the electoral votes are for them. And that's naturally where you're going to stay, right? So to the cost of others. Now, I will tell you, these 3 are doing a decent job of getting out there and talking, but systematically, just go to another county, you're naturally going to go wherever the voters are, and because your bandwidth is it's limited. So the people without a voice out here, they don't get you because they don't vote as much. They can't get out there that much.
The county can't establish this, right? This is a state issue.
So Michael Owen, right, is going to run a local bill through our delegation that's going to make a local law, right? This will be the first year attempt at it. That's going to do single member districts in Hillsborough County. So the plan we're talking about, some variation of it, bring it to the county.
So increasing the number of members and making all of the members single district.
Correct. So then you go from representing each district represents 400,000 right now, single member. They'll go down to 200,000. So now you call, hey, I want to talk to Danny. What's up? Right. Hey, Danny, I have a problem in my area. My staff is taking care of that.
I like it.
So
the only reason I have a fear is if those districts will only be put in Fishhawk Ranch and Parish and out there, and then the city's just not left with appropriate representation.
No, it's take the block, right? And it's got to pass judicial muster too, right? You can't gerrymander into this is going to be a Democrat seat or the Republican seat. Each area, they just like they do the state, they divide and give me 200,000 people in each one. So think about it as a pie, in the center, and then you pie it out. That's I'm oversimplifying.
Sure,
sure. So South Tampa gets
the
voice.
But it's people and political party focused.
It can't be political party focused. It has to be representation focused,
which is number of people. And I do believe I'm not that kind of lawyer, but I do believe that courts look at to make sure that no one group is disparaged by vote incapacity. So you can't say, hey, I don't this is a Hispanic seat. You can't do that. We're going to try to get Hispanics. There has to be a balance of demographics in those seats. Hence the reason why the maps are all weird 100%. And
look at Daryl Rouson's Senate map. The guy covers Pinellas, the water in between, and then Apollo Beach into parts of Riverview.
Yeah, it's weird.
And the thing is, it's not fair to him either because, remember, we talked. It's politics is friendship. Kiss the babies, and that's still the simple part of it. But that's real. How's he going to do that when he's got to cross the bridge?
Can't. I mean, he can't appropriately represent these.
He does a decent job.
Sure,
but
it's not his problem that it's drawn that way.
Right.
So the idea is better representation for the people, but also so that the members have an easier job at connecting with their constituency and not having to cross bridges.
To me, the main motivation is that you have fair representation in your government. And so if Waimama is crying because they don't get resourced, right? Who's their voice? Well, right now, that's Christine Miller. And I'm going to tell you something. She's like a honey badger, right? She and I worked together during the hurricane, right? And my philosophy for a state rep is different than other people. I'm on the ground. Let's go get dirty. Did you get flooded out? Let me go get this guy to come get you this resource. And she, even though she was brand new, in politics, she was brand new. I was like, dang, it's great because she is my partner on the east side. I need 2 more of her, right?
Yeah.
So that she can concentrate on a smaller section, fight for those people. And so when the hurricane came, the county's resource allocation, it felt like, and I'm positive they would probably be like, Danny, but it felt like a lot of it didn't come to the East County, and we fought and fought to get like those aid stations brought over here. So in fact, right now, just to tell you, I got so pissed off about it. And this is, and Reese, for everyone who's on, my aide is right here, and I feel bad for her because I'm like Reese, we're not going to let this happen again. Set up a meeting with the county so that we can manage the politicians' expectations, and tell me who I'm talking to when I need wastewater issues, moving barricades, because they just weren't used to, and this is not, and this is fair to be fair to them. They weren't used to people like me, people like Jay, people like Christine going, yo, where is this right now? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe people might have called it in the past. We ain't calling it in. Like when there's a flood over there, we're in the water. Like we're making sure people are safe. And this isn't like rah me. I'm just telling you, like, this is what you hired me to do. Right. So if you hired me to do it, I need to know. So now I've got the county's government affairs people like running like crazy because we're going to have a meeting and all of us are be like, all right, so I'm calling you for what? And then the typical way governments like to do it is I get a liaison. I don't like liaison. You understand? Like, because what ends up happening is just one more level of like, and they do a decent job. This isn't a criticism on them. And that's what they get hired for. I need to talk to who is in charge of the waste management guy. And so finally I got to that guy, and then I call him, and some people don't like it. I get it, but I call him and be like, bud, this is my problem. How can we fix X? Because ultimately I think, you might hire me for policy, but really I have 7 bills that I'm allowed to run at the house at any one time. Really, I see myself as a fixer. You know what I mean? I'm the guy who, when your Medicaid or Medicare is not working, you call me and be like, Danny, your VA thing isn't working. You call the office. We get involved and go, well, Rep Alvarez wants, and that's my favorite part about this job.
Yeah, like, helping people.
I'd run for this job for a lot longer just to be able to do that. And then people are like, will you run for Congress? I'm like, how many staff do I get to be able to do that? So that, and it's a lot more. So,
and you're not even talking about hurricane response. You're talking about just anything and everything. Anything. Whatever that community needs, you want to be able to pick up the phone and make it happen.
One of the most frustrating parts of government, brother, is the speed, right? So we have systems, and on paper they read, that's how it works. So you have a problem, you apply, they respond.
Yeah.
But when the human bureaucracy gets involved, man, it feels like they forget about the person that they're supposed to be serving. So I resent very much that the only reason that this person got what they were owed and due is because I called.
Yeah, the people they serve, but also like, what's the goal? Like, what are we trying to achieve here? We talked before we went live about some of the issues in this particular city with just red tape, or conflicting codes and stuff like that. And the good news is the city recognizes the problems. They're redoing the land development code. Like, they're working on it, right? We're sort of, our hands are tied because we have a 40-year-old development code that conflicts with the future land use and some of these other issues. But yeah, I just feel bad for the mom and pop. Small businesses have a hard time getting going. I mean, it's really, really tough to lease a space and do a build out and plan and go through all the different codes to get started before you even serve a cup of coffee.
That's right.
And cities like our cities and our communities used to really run that way, right? Like before corporate interests and the suburban lifestyle, like people used to come together and, you would sell the eggs and I would sell the bread, and like, that's how it 100%. Would work. And I would love to see the state and the county and the city kind of enable and be more friendly to people that are just starting out. There's been creative businesses, like I had on Nimble Retail. They're doing these, it's not a shipping container, but think of a shipping container sized little retail spot. They could get a land lease at a parking lot in a little coffee shop.
And pop it up.
You know what I mean? Pop it up, and then maybe they graduate and move on to a bigger space. But you got to support those little small businesses, man.
So, business attorney, like, my office was on MLK in West Tampa for years, and that's the frustrating part. So government is saying, let's bring people in, and that's what I need. That's jobs. That's what I need. And then they become the thing that gets in the way of their own success.
Right.
Partial. It's a 2-part thing. The historical context at which we used to run government, like you and me, we're nimble, like, to use that word, we're nimble, right? If we see a thing, We can react to it quickly, and I'm moving in that direction. That's how you kill competition so that you can win in business. Governments do not work that way.
Yeah.
Governments are inherently, well, we've always done it that way.
Yeah.
Is that a new thing?
Right.
So go back, right? Florida is disconnected. Business, if you had a laundry business or a sandwich shop or whatever, it was here local and you knew how to make it there. But now we're so connected. We're so big. We're so fast that we created processes here for the old way. And then the new way comes in and they're like, yeah, that doesn't work. This is what you have to do. Fill out this paper. You're like,
right.
It's 2025.
Yeah.
We can't add one button and we're up. That's number one. So dragging government into the modernity, it's always like 10 years minimum behind.
Yeah.
And that is unsatisfactory. You know, when I do my business coaching and CEO coaching, if you aren't tapped in right here to the modernity of your business, you should just shut it down or hand it off because you're hurting your business. And you will see that in family businesses, for example. And I'm only highlighting this to show you it's not just a government problem, it's a mindset problem.
Right, right. Almost like a culture.
Oh, good. Family, culture, business.
Yeah.
Old company, been there for a long time.
Yep.
They've made a lot of money. Why wouldn't Danny, like I've done this for 20 years. We've made a lot of money. And now you're bringing me in.
Why change now?
Modernize yourself though, right?
Right.
And so you have to give up the control. You have to give up the ideas. I know you always did this, but that's actually costing you money. Did you realize it? Oh, I didn't. So if you're in that zone and you can't get yourself out, government can't do it, right? Government changes mayors every 4 or 8 years.
Right.
Chiefs of staff come and go. In the middle, you've got city councils, county commissioners coming. There's no institutional knowledge that works against business. Mm-hmm. See, that inherently is the enemy of business because business, like Tico's been here for forever. Right? Think about that. Godsmart has been here for a long time. He's like, hey, he could probably navigate the permit process better than the freaking guy who's supposed to.
Right.
So there's that inherent part. One, bureaucracy. All right. Bureaucracy in Florida, they mean well, right? These people didn't come around to screw you and your business. They're just like, hey, I don't have authorities. I'm comfy.
Or the code says, 1 foot, 12 inches, and you're 11.9 or whatever. Yeah.
And so you and I in business would be like, hey, that's the same thing, right? You're like, yeah, let's go. And right. But they don't have the authority. And then you get politicians involved, right? Mm-hmm. They have different constituencies to answer to. I got to get reelected. I got to have safe buildings. So all of these things come into play for, I call the perfect storm against business and development. So really when you go to elect people, you have to elect people that not only have vision, but are decisive with that vision. Mm. They could sit here on your podcast and be like, bro, I love business. Okay, let's put your money where your mouth is. Let's push right for the change. In the house, I'll tell you this, in the house. One of my worst experiences and probably one of my most telling experiences is going up against what I considered a professional staff that is entrenched. Okay, not all of them, but what happens is I run every 2 years. Okay, I only get a term limit of 8 years, right? Which I believe in term limits, right? I think we should extend it to 12 because what happens is in those 8, you go in and you tell a staff member that's been there for 20 years, I've got this idea. Nah, that's stupid.
Right.
And they will work against the idea. An unelected person is telling me, no, we're not going to do it.
Wow.
In fact, I had a now infamous, I'm trying to figure out how to say it without like being super rude. I had a situation in my office, like my second year, I got promoted to be a whip, which is on the leadership team of this committee. And one of the policy directors of the committee says, I'm going to kill your bill. And I was like, you're talking to me right now? I was like, because I don't remember seeing your name on that little board when I was handing out my cards, sweating, knocking on doors and telling people what my policies were going to be. That was you? Yeah, okay, we'll do whatever you want, right? And so we had a really big coming to Jesus, ultra uncomfortable, and it was a recalibration. But ultimately, you know what they say? This Cuban kid, he'll be gone in 2 years. We'll just wait him out. We'll pretend to do what he says, and then we'll move on. That entrenched nature, okay, is in the state, is in the county, is in the city, in every single one of these
Most people think
institutions.
of it at the federal level. Like that's been the big thing for the last 10 years is the air quote swamp, right? Like this
100%.
this institution that is unelected, that's been in place for decades, that operates in one lane. And when elected officials come in that are new, like you're just describing, like most people think of it at the federal level, but you're saying it also exists at every level.
It without doubt, two different kind of swamps. One is the one that's like it's not conspiracy. The one people that think that they're in charge and they're actively working for some agenda. What I'm talking about though, that is the more inherent is 90% of them don't mean right to
Right,
human
right.
beings follow the path of least resistance. It's like water, you know what I mean? So if you come in with an idea that's going to ruffle the system and make it work, that's what I'm hiring you to do. I need you to be forward leaning, like Tampa needs it. The connectivity of Florida needs it. The affordable housing problems need it, right?
Hmm.
And then you have the entrenched mentalities. Well, you're supposed to lead through that, right? But if I only have 2 years, buckets of 2 years to do it in, my effectiveness.
I thought it was, I didn't know it was 2 years. I thought it was four. Two seems crazy. Like how do you
Four is
even
for the
learn how to
Senate.
do your job in the first like
You're
what?
speaking my language. You want to run through it? So first 2 years, I'm I'm a freshman. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm like
And
super
and
like
how could you?
correct. Then we're also doing this thing. We're running for speaker. Okay, in the Florida House, we're running for speaker in that time. So that takes a bit of your bandwidth, and we're just learning. Okay.
Right.
So now your sophomore year, because these are 2 year buckets. If you get reelected, you come back your sophomore year, and you're like, all right, now I think I know what I'm doing. Third year, you're starting to get prepped for third sessions, your whatever it is that and your committees change each 2 year bucket, right? And so if you're going to have a leadership role, and when you're a senior, those 8 years evaporate. You can't pass as many laws as you want. We started off talking about the efficiency of it.
Yep.
Man, there's this list of problems. You and I run a business, and we go, dude, why are we bleeding here? Let's fix it right now. I need someone with authority to be decisive. Bro, I got to convince 120 plus 40 plus 1. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? So we just have a lot of things working against us. And when we were a big state with little amount of people, it worked. Now we're a huge state. We lead the world, like in many, many things, 14th largest economy in the world, right? Third largest state. And people still believe that what happens in Hillsborough stays in Hillsborough. That's not what it works. It's just not how it happens. So.
I mean, Hillsborough County alone has a larger population than I think you said initially, like 11 states or something
Correct.
crazy, which
Yeah.
is insane.
That's right.
Which is insane. So we talked about initially how the design of government is not to be inefficient, but to have roadblocks. I guess why, in case you get some crazy character in there who's like a total change agent that just unravels good work.
So America, the experiment of America, which bleeds down. Remember, we were the United States, or back in those days, when you use the word state, you were a country. So the United Countries of
Right.
America, right? We are nervous about a centralized power. We run away from kings because we believe in this new concept that individual rights are greater than anything, right?
Mhm.
So when you design your government against that, you're designing to make sure that if you are going to create a law that may inhibit my rights, I want it to be well thought out. I want it to be fought. And if it goes into the marketplace of ideas and it gets beat up and survives, well, it must be decent. You know what I mean? And that's why, like, I use the marketplace of ideas example all the time, because when you're out there, throw it out there. I want to hear your idea. And then if it can't stand the critique,
Right.
it shouldn't be here.
That's why
right?
free speech is so important.
So
I mean,
vital.
this country's gone through that conversation the last few years.
Oh,
But
yeah.
God, it's so important to be able to say whatever the hell you want to say.
Brother, little known thing about me, when I started my life, I had worked at the Miami Herald for 7 years. It started when I was 16, and they actually paid my way through college, right? And I had to ask them to release me from my obligation so I could go in the Army. And back in those days, that literally when I talked to the VP, he goes, "You want to serve your country? Absolutely. We will never hold." And I was like, "What? Great." When I was a journalist, we learned, and I still believe, that without journalism and free speech, that is the ultimate check on, right? Look, even like these right now, conservatives are like, "I don't believe in the media." I don't believe in this media. I don't believe in the people doing the media right now. Locally, it's much better than nationally. Like our local people
Sure.
are extremely, for the most part, balanced. When I was the sheriff's communications chief, I saw behind the scenes with them, really good people. They live in this community, so they're tied to their accountability. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But for me, without a good media, then your government sprawls, right? Without someone checking the power and the authority of people like us, it sprawls, and then you get like really bad results.
Yeah.
So you're right. Free speech is ultra important. I just wish the people that are delivering, remembered that a little bit more.
This episode is brought to you by the official remodeler of the TBD podcast, Kohler House Remodeling Company. Built on the belief that every homeowner deserves a premium experience, Kohler House is redefining high-end home remodeling with their commitment to integrity, craftsmanship, and quality communication. Their work speaks for itself, from condos in the towers of Channelside to 100-year-old homes in South Tampa, creating spaces that are both stunning and functional. What sets Kohler House Remodeling Company apart is their dedication to not only transforming homes into beautiful spaces, but to elevating the standard of residential general contracting. From concept to completion, every detail is handled with care, ensuring a process that's as smooth as the results are impressive. To learn more, check out our partner's website at kohlerhouse.net, KOHLERHAUS.net. This episode is sponsored by Chansey Architecture and Interior Design. Rooted in the heart of Ybor City for over 35 years, Walt Chansey and his team are trailblazers in their field. Beyond their work across the United States and the Bahamas, Chansey has shaped some of the most iconic residential and commercial spaces that serve as gateways to Cigar City, including Casa Marti and Casa Gomez. What sets Chansey Design apart is their ability to preserve the soul and character of historic buildings while seamlessly integrating modern design and functionality. They blend tradition with innovation, creating spaces that honor the past while meeting today's needs. Check out their work at www.chanseydesign.com. I think the country will sniff out the bad, though. I think people would look at the media and whatever bad job they're doing, and then in America anything improves, most of it, and so that's included in the media too. I think the media is held to a higher standard than they were 10 years ago. I don't think people really paid much attention. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, and they inherently trusted the media.
That's right.
But now it's a little bit more scrutinizing. Plus, the big factor is shit like this.
100.
We can just get linked up and start
100%.
talking. No one can stop us. We're on the internet.
If it wasn't for things like this, with the level of connectivity, the level of disinformation possible, like this helps combat it, right? So
we might be in a very dangerous situation without free media like this.
1,000%. Without these microphones running all over in every community, we would legit be on a very dangerous and dark path.
I encourage everyone to start a podcast. Like everyone that asks me, I'm like, just do it. Just
Absolutely.
Start talking.
Start talking.
We need people to talk about. I can't talk about everything.
100%. Hey, that's actually what I did for so when Chad, the sheriff, like I was the first person he ever hired, and when he and I went into the job together, I told him I would shut down my law firm because if you bring me, we're going to tell the story of law enforcement, right? And so it's just what you said. Everyone is telling the story of law enforcement, right? And so they get to air their griefs on their phone or their misperceptions or their beliefs. And cops, firefighters, soldiers, farmers, they're people that are not showy, right? Let my work speak for me. It is what it is. But times changed, and this microphone changed the battlefield.
You got to show that perspective.
So if you don't, you allow other people to craft your image, right? And then you're subject to it. So you either act or you don't. And so Chad and the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, I believe, have set a standard, right? And one that was copied all over. I see it now that I get to go behind the scenes, copied all over the state that says, this is our story. This is who we are. You've got your side, right? And then maybe we'll let you decide what a cop is and what a cop isn't. And so I'm very proud of that.
He's just super popular here locally. And I thought it was really smart of him to not take the position in the higher administration because he's done a great job. People love him here. Why leave, He's an incredible asset. And I've seen it behind the scenes. Okay. No one is perfect. And so I don't like adulate that way. He is incredible at what he does. In law enforcement, that's where I was born. I'm not a cop, but my professional law enforcement was born here at the Hillsborough County Sheriff. I did not realize the level
of trust and support that this agency has built, and where Chad got when he came on board an incredible agency, and he has taken it to a next level, right? I thought everyone was like that. And
Yeah.
so when I go see other agencies, I'm like, it's not that they're bad. It's just that they have not evolved at the pace that this place has. This place is ridiculous. Now, I will tell you this. Our county commission and this county supports law enforcement in a way that is not common. $700+ million a year budget takes a huge chunk out of the county's operating costs.
That's
right?
the Hillsborough County just for the sheriff's office?
Just for the sheriff's office, right? And so it's an investment. Your safety and security, so you can sell homes, and that so that your real estate developments are safe to attract other people to come, pay high premium, all that stuff. That began with the cop that turned on his uniform and lights today, right? Put on his uniform, turned on his lights, and went to work. That your area is not safe and secure. We don't do business and make money. So Hillsborough realizes it, invests in it, holds them accountable to the dollars, and they're responsible, but they provide. I once went to a county, and here's a big difference. Like Florida, everyone thinks is like Hillsborough, like Miami, like Orlando. The super majority of Florida is not.
No, there's 67 counties, right?
67 counties, and many of them are rural or financially limited. I didn't know that. That's why it's important for electeds to get out, right? So I once went and did a talk at a sheriff's office, and I said, "Oh, I'm bringing this program statewide, and I'm getting a couple $1 million." And the sheriff goes, "Hey, could you not say that loud, because our total budget is $9 million."
Holy smokes!
And I said, "Oh, you mean for this team?"
Right,
and he's looking at me like I'm an idiot. And $9 million for that sheriff is just a different world.
That's just so crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
It
and
is.
then almost, upwards of going towards $1 billion for Hillsborough County. But we got 1.5 million people.
That's right. Think about, Miami-Dade sheriff, right? They are, I think, plus they've crested $1 billion. Broward has crested $1 billion. It costs to deliver this kind of service. You dial 911. And you don't think about it.
Mm-mm.
The mechanisms in place to get that cop to you within less than 5 minutes, that's unheard of. That doesn't happen in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
Okay, not even to say other parts of the world. So it's a really big deal, and we prioritize well here in Hillsborough.
That new thing Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is doing, where they keep the lights on the cars as they move around. What's that about?
So originally, I was there from 2017 to 2020, and they started it then, and it freaked people out, and it actually freaked cops out too, because they were nervous to do it, because they thought you can only run your lights. But if you're forward leaning into the community, right, and you're doing a community policing, proactive kind of thing, isn't it good to let people know you're there? And so, Chad had this idea. He goes, I want everyone to know we're there day and night. And so now that you see your cops, you're like, oh, I feel safe.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
It gives a perception, and it's a true thing. It was like, hey, tell the story. So here, the story rides by you all the time. You get to see the lights on.
Yeah, you can't ignore it.
And I think there were studies, because a lot of this, when we studied it and he looked at it, there are studies that say if people know they're there, criminals think twice, right? So
100%.
Right?
So, not going to rob a bank if there's a cop right
that's
there.
That's exactly right.
That's
the idea.
I guess it's like optics and what did you call it? Like a forward
leaning. Yeah.
That's why they're like playing basketball and hanging out with people.
Listen, ultimately, we need tough cops, right? That can be savage when they need to,
right?
But controlled all the time.
It really is. God, you're looking for a really, really powerful figure, man or woman, to fill that role. I mean, someone that can be protective and frankly violent if they have to be, but also be a part of that community, and hand out candy to the kids and all that.
And they can't think of it as like old school cop world, right? Hey, do what I say, or I'm just gonna
us versus them type thing.
Right.
Yeah,
you're a member of this community. If you're a cop and you think like you're some freaking Adonis, you got go find something else, buddy.
Yeah,
you're part of this community. We've empowered you. We believe in you. We protect you, right? But you have a responsibility, like an absolute and total responsibility. And the old model where we don't get involved until you call us, well, that may have worked then. Today, you are a part of the fabric of who we are, right? And you want to build trust and effectiveness, then you should do the things that we're doing now. And so some cops are like, man, there's too much candy and ducks. Like, I used to say this thing, ducks save lives, right? And the cops used to be like, what are you talking about? When I would post a photo of one of our guys going and rescuing ducks or a cat or a kid or whatever, you would see our likes and appreciations online go through the roof, right? More so that like when I was growing up, I loved watching the SWAT
Of
team
course,
guy or
right.
the dive guy. In this world today, they want to know, right? The citizens that hired you to do the job want to know, can you turn on the beast when I need it, right? And I need it, okay? And then come to have coffee with me, hold the duck and my kid, and we say, hey, how you doing? How was softball? Oh, you have this investment in the community. It's vital, right, to the success of a thriving community. I'm a big firm believer in it. I still today I'm the general counsel to the Tampa Police Union, so I still stay in police world. I go out on call outs like when we have shootings and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
and I am dyed in the wool cop firefighter guy.
That passive approach though doesn't work either. Like if you look at other states and other municipalities over like since COVID, since they've had some big problems, that's sort of like passive and kind of let it happen. That doesn't work either.
No, humans are the path of least resistance. If a bad guy knows that I can go into your house and I'm not going to be faced with an equal,
Yeah.
and piece of resistance called a good cop, then they're going to go in that house.
Some our Florida sheriffs got so much publicity during the last few years because it's such a stark contrast. They'll get on the news and be like, "Look, if you come rob someone, you're going to get shot." Like we're not playing around here in Florida.
That's welcome to Florida.
But I think that has probably attracted a lot of good people that are in law enforcement that look at something like Hillsborough County and go, "I want to come move down there and work for that department."
So to prove your point, we've recruited here at TPD from NYPD.
Wow.
A lot.
Wow.
And so you think cop is cop is cop.
And that's a prestigious organization there.
Yeah, that's the perception. I've never been there, but that is a perception that I hold as well. So they come down here. I'll meet them at their initial like welcome, and then I'm like, I hope I never see you again, right?
Well,
because
of course, right.
If you're calling me, then there may have been an issue. So I've run into a couple from New York. And I'll just stop them in the car, but they'll come say hi when they're on phase 5 or they're off probation. I'm like, hey, how you like it? And they go, man, this is incredible. I'm like, really? Because they're 5-year seasoned cops.
Right.
So I'm like, why you say that? He goes, people kind of like us down here. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. I know that's a characteristic. People kind of like you because they trust you. You know what I mean? And she also said, this one said, I get to be a cop down here. So in New York, like detectives do all the work. Here, we don't have that many people. Like we don't have as many people as you think. So you're gonna have to do multiple things at the same time. So she felt empowered, but really what this person was telling me was the respect that she receives as a cop, it actually put the wind back in her sails. Another guy, this gentleman was a detective, 20 plus year from NYPD, comes down to TPD. And I said, wow, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And he goes, when I entered the policing world, I was a hero. He was part of the class that was in the academy during 9/11.
Right.
They called him out without gun belts because they needed bodies, right? And so they used him in I guess in a different capacity. And he goes, I came in as a hero and rode that wave, and I left the same department 20 years later, and they hated me just because I put the uniform on.
It's horrible.
He said, I'm not going out like that. So he comes here, and then I see him. It's hilarious because I saw him guarding like a yellow line. I'm like, is it still good? He goes, I love this place.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's awesome.
Man.
So
we
it's
need
our
good
community.
people, man.
It's our
that's
community.
Amazing.
It's our community and our point of view. And a big shout out to Lee Burkall, who's our chief of staff. I mean, our chief of police. He does being a chief of police here is hard, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a balance between the men and women you serve,
right,
and the political masters above. And I think he's doing a great job to establish trust and rapport with the men and women, and then also serve the people he's got to serve. So big shout out to him.
I saw something recently with the budget in the city of Tampa for police and fire. The property taxes like just or maybe not even cover that budget.
Yeah.
That seems like a huge issue.
It is.
Is there state help for agents?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough. So the state says, hey, we empowered you to run that area for us, right? City of Tampa. It's on you. You know what I mean? Now we will help. Like, for example, I got the fire chief and the mayor asked for it, a rescue vehicle. They needed one that's like $450,000. And those bumps come, but you can't do budget planning and forecasting
right
off what we do. So if you hear Lewis a lot, right, Vieira, he'll scream about the need for fire station, and that's real. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But this is when we talk about like the entrenched mentality. Well, we built it. We got what's next. No, you built it. Now you got to maintain it. And you
Right.
should probably be planning on tearing it down and building a new one in 20 years. What's the glide slope look like? What's the financial forecast? We don't think that way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But we should.
That fire station he's been talking about for a while, I think that's been delayed like 3 years. The community's upset. They already put the money aside, but for some reason they haven't started the project. I don't know
Yeah.
details.
And
I don't know if
I don't know like the exact details behind it. I did understand something. So close to Tampa firefighters, those guys and gals are freaking amazing. So the city does planning costs for a fire station, if I understand it correctly, with all in, right? So where the county will say this is a $10 million fire station because the county, when they're talking about what it costs to build, equip, buy land. Here they're talking about they already own the land. They're talking about what it costs to build, equip, run, and function. So that number seems higher. I don't
Got
know
it.
what the disconnect is for it.
Sure.
But like run to the county, for example, let's talk about that one. So our current fire chief needs 20 plus, and we're not going to give it to him until somebody freaking dies. That's important, right? And that's how this works. In police and fire world, they are a zero fail culture. Okay. So if you and I are cops, and even though we're upset about our salary and we're not getting paid enough and our equipment sucks, 911 call. Let's go.
Right.
We're
Of
going.
course.
It's what we said we would do. And so firefighters are the same way. But the difference is where a firefighter should be there in 5 or 6 minutes, it's taking 13 minutes to get there. I once ran into a Pasco firefighter who transferred to Hillsborough, and his dad passed away. He was there helping, but the rescue took a long time to get there. It wasn't the rescue's fault. You understand? It was the distance, the traffic,
Yeah.
the lack of a fire station closer.
Yeah.
And so when we measure failures here, we measure it in the lives that we lose, right? And it isn't like until we lose someone important that someone's finally going to do something, right?
Yeah. I was going to ask you what you meant by that. Like, we won't give it to him until someone dies.
Like if my kid dies, you understand, I'm going to burn this county down,
Right.
right?
To
And
get
I'm gonna-
what you need.
to
Yeah.
fix it, right? And so now, and someone would say, Danny, that's ridiculous. I agree. That's ridiculous. No one should die, right? But we then go into the buzzsaw of reality, limited resources,
Right.
the increasing costs of everything. I get it. So managing people's expectations is real. So I'll give you a different example. In Fishhawk, there's a fire station that is right in the middle of, I think it's 44. It's right there. It only has an engine in it, okay? And every single truck that has firefighters on it in Hillsborough County, or most of them, have what's called advanced life support qualified people. They can do the highest level of care on the street. The only thing is the ambulance looking one, right? That's, we call that the bus, or we call it the rescue. Those are the only ones that can transport. So when you get a fire engine show up, you have the same medical care that the bus will have. So we had someone pass away on a run. The engine got to them within, I think, like less than 6 minutes, right? And they ended up passing away. And so the wife calls me, and my heart absolutely breaks. So I'm going to look into it, right? And the reality is, even if the bus would have gotten there in time, right? He still wouldn't have made it because he got the same level of care, and they couldn't have gotten him to the hospital in time to make a difference. But it's a perception thing.
Right.
Where is the ambulance?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So the reality is, ambulance comes from station 16 that has 2 of them because the call volume there is higher. If Danny was king, and I know that if our chief was king, he'd have 2 in every station if he could afford it, right? But each one of those is 600,000 plus you need
That's not
2
cheap,
or 3 guys for each shift. It's just an impossibility. So you got to make these decisions, but you got to manage citizens' expectations.
But being dynamic like that, to me, is how you solve some of those issues. Like, hey, if you really can't afford to have 2 of the buses or ambulances, well, then just train the guys that are on the truck,
100%.
right? I guess that's where that came from.
And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's why, And they save lives, by the way. Like
Well,
those things.
the fire department is so much more than fighting fires now. Like they're doing like hurricane
Right.
response, like rescue. They're responding to car accidents
That's
and
it.
medical emergencies. I mean, it's really become like this not public safety, but medical safety kind of department.
So here's the thing. Like if you grow up in the world, like in the last 50 years, like you or me, like all we did was dial 911 and the firefighters always came. That's not how it worked back in the day. Like Hillsborough County Fire Rescue is only 50, I think 50 years old. And it used to be a ton volunteer, some paid, and there was two departments, fire
Right.
and emergency medical services.
Yeah.
So to your point, they merged for efficiency's sake. They merged, and then they got rid of a lot of the volunteer stations. And in fact, we're still using some of the volunteer stations now. And it's because a super majority of the calls are medical. If you ever go do a ride along, which I encourage everyone to, if they're allowed, man, you'll never, ever
I did a
complain.
ride along with the sheriff's office and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
We were driving around the county. I think the guy's district was like Ybor. Well, I guess they're countywide, but I think they're positioned in different areas, obviously. We pulled someone over. We looked for a stolen car. There was an arson call. We got Tijuana Flats midday and then picked back up and like went to Ybor. It was the most fun. I mean, I was like, I can't believe you can get paid to do this. This is freaking awesome.
It is.
I just had bigger financial ambitions. That's
Sure.
all.
100%.
You know, so that's why I appreciate those people.
I'm glad you did that.
A lot of those guys do it because they really love it and they want to help people. Those
Absolutely
are like
right.
really, they know they want to help their community and they just freaking love that job.
Absolutely
That's
right.
what it is.
It's the truth. But you know what my goal is? My goal before I'm done in this like leadership part of government is to make sure that we see firefighters and cops like you see veterans. Okay.
Yeah.
So we never have. Like we always say, man, thanks for what you do. I can go around and serve. I did 4 years active, 2 years in the Guard, and people to this day will be like, hey, man, thanks for your service. Okay, I appreciate it. It was my honor. I'd do it again. But the cops and firefighters are the daily deployed. Think about it.
Yep.
Like they go out into the breach every day. And how many times has anyone been like, hey, thank you for your service? When I claim that my knee hurts, I go to the VA and make a disability claim that says it's related. When cops do that, we're like, hey, here's your retirement. Suck it up. You know?
Yeah.
We're not meeting the expectations of position and value when it comes to our firefighters and cops. It's getting better, right? Actually, it's getting better. Tampa is leading the way, right? Tampa is leading the way when it comes to salaries, for example. You know, if you want to do this job and you want to wear somebody out, you're going to have to pay for it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But we used to be, when I was growing up and I said, oh, I might be interested in a cop, people were like, Danny, people will become cops who have no other options in life.
Yeah.
And so when you set that expectation based upon a low salary and low honor threshold for the position in the career,
You're not going to get the best people.
you're going to get what you put out there, right?
Yeah.
If I tell you this is a professional job, right? So City of Tampa, let's say we start somewhere around 67. You'll never make 67 because there's always this overtime necessary to complete the job. And then if I tell you I can get you over $100,000 plus within 8 to 10 years and you only work 40 hours a week, now those 40 are a hustle. I ain't going to lie. 4 days on, 4 days off for 20 years. Give me that. I'm going to give you a great career.
Right.
I'm going to give you a great retirement and then pop smoke and go on with the rest of your life.
Right off into the sunset.
That's it.
What did I see at the state level? Didn't you guys pay like police officers some sort of $1,000 bonus or something like that?
Yep. The governor came out with the idea of like, you know what? You want to defund police? Let me show you what we do. We're going to bonus police. So I think we did it 3 years in a row. I might be wrong. So if someone's like in the comments, like, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I might be wrong. I think it was 3. I know it was absolutely 2. And we gave it to him. And listen, $1,000 after taxes, you know, it's like $600, but it's not about the money. It's about the respect.
Right.
All right. And it's getting to the position, what I'm talking about, valuation of the career and the profession equal to veteran status. And I think that showed, that was a really good call on the govs.
100%. Let me ask you this. Is there anything that has been completely shocking to you? Like before you were a representative, you know, you thought one way, but now that you've been on the inside, you're like, okay, whatever I thought was completely wrong.
We talked about term limits. I was like,
yeah,
get them out.
Right,
and now
right,
here I am
right.
saying,
a lot of people say that. Yeah.
give me more. Like, because I want to be able to be effective. And one of the things I forgot to tell you about that, like remember the bureaucrats, is if you give me 12 years and the person behind me gets another 12 years, or like we've broken up an employee's career. And so I have 12 years of influence, someone else will. And then maybe that helps block and limit some of the time and influence they have. The other part that has really just like is the speed. I realize, and I'm like, oh my God, this is not that hard. Can we just fix it? And then I was that guy screaming that, like, and now that I'm in it, I'm like, yo, you just don't understand what I'm doing, right? Or what I'm facing. And so I'm very sympathetic when someone comes up to me and be like, why can't you just X? And I'm like, okay, you got 20 minutes? Let me just explain to you why we just can't X there. But I'm trying.
Or when a new member comes in and they're frustrated, then you're just like, bro, it's going to be a while.
Yeah, that's exactly
Get in
right.
line
That's
type
exactly.
thing.
Or the other part too is that's the most shocking. Maybe this is personal. Is I have a belief system that I believe got me here. You know what I mean? Like you voted for me because you're like, that's my guy, And so I am that guy. Like I've been in the community for 20 plus years, and then someone will send me a comment about me, and I'm like, I know that person. Why would they say that? You know what I mean? Like, and you're like, dude, that's not me at all. You know what I mean? Like you don't even. Why didn't you call me? So I'll call them. I call people all the time. I'm like, yo, I read what you good? Like what? And they're like, I'm sorry, man. I was just frustrated. I was like, all right, call me. Like I'll solve all the problem right away. Let's just talk.
Comes with the territory. It comes with the job, really.
Yeah, it really does. You can't do this job, bro, without being like ultra thick-skinned.
Right.
And you have people that I serve with that say they are, but they are not. They'll get demolished.
Just behind closed doors, freaking out.
And you can't do it.
Spiraling out of control. Yeah.
Listen, representative governments, you said Danny can do it for me. He'll be my voice. You can't expect that you and I will agree 100% of the time, but my core doesn't change. You know what I mean? In business, have you ever made a deal where you're like, it's not the best
Every
thing?
deal.
Every deal.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
that's politics, right?
Right.
There's times where I'm like, I'll vote for something, and I'm like, if this was in a vacuum, bro, I'd be like, I'm the hardest no you've ever seen, right? But I need you to vote for this, so I'll give a little bit. Or I need this for my county, I'll give a little bit. I don't give on my core principles. That's never going to happen. Maybe that's to my demise, but yeah, that one's been that one's the biggest too. The last one to me is my colleague base. Where my colleague base, like I feel like I haven't changed that much. I'm probably a little shorter on my decision-making process because now I get things faster. I may seem more inaccessible just because the volume of,
Sure.
I really do. I tell people if you call me and I don't answer and you text me, just give me a gentle nudge, probably because it just went down on the thing and I didn't see it. But the way people campaign and then change to the position, we ain't kings, bro. You understand that? We are representatives of the people. And although my title is representative right now, it might not be in 2 more years. You understand that?
Right.
And so
it's not up to you.
It's not up to me. You think this is high and mighty. I think this is just a pass through. You understand? And so when people believe their own hype too much, that really, it just disappoints me. You know what I mean? It might be human nature, but I'm just a dude.
It's also like, what are you doing
East
here?
County.
Like, you really shouldn't be here if that's your attitude.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. If you don't have like a mission focus here, and it's just more like, oh, listen, you can see it. Like you went from in your brain, nobody knows me, to now like, ooh, representative.
Right.
Ooh, senator.
Yeah.
Right.
You get invited to the luncheons.
Yeah. And maybe you've never been to a luncheon, and that's cool.
Yeah.
I can buy my own Chick-fil-A. I'm good. You know what I mean? But alternatively, if we were to go to a lunch, which we're not allowed to get stuff paid for, but you ain't gonna buy me with a steak. You know what I mean? But you see people get a little bit too high on the horse, and that disappoints me because I thought we were here mission focused, good conservative policy. And this isn't about you; it's about the mission.
Are you saying you were sort of naive to think that our representatives in Florida were just sort of all, let's get shit done, let's be mission focused, but that's just not the case?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably, I hate to admit a naivety that way because it's not like I was born yesterday.
Of course, of
you see it
course.
on TV and you're like,
Sure.
but when you personalize experiences, like you and I go to the house together, like it's hard to be like, hey, you're kind of being douchey. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
chill out, guy. We're both like, so seeing it from there, I always try to see the best in people. Like I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Even though I can
Yep.
fight like a glass empty guy, half empty. I want to see the best in people, and then sometimes I'm too hard in breaking the contact. I
So
feel
almost
I
like
could
a
lead you out.
disappointment. Almost like a, oh, damn it. Like,
Yeah.
there's a few of these.
If you're not ready for disappointment, don't go into politics. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Let's talk about your big things, right? Like I think in Florida, Floridians recognize we have a few big issues. Insurance is
Yep.
one. Housing affordability, particularly for the Floridians, right? I
Yep,
mean, if you
100%.
move here from a different market, you might have money, you might be older in life, you might be in a position where you go, shit, Florida's cheap.
Right.
But for Floridians, man, like I'm 33, I got a wife and 2 kids, like, bro, it's challenging. My wife and I bought our house last year. It's not easy to make it today.
Brother.
And so what are your big things that you've really driven for the past few years? Like, what are your big policy platforms you're working on?
So, like I told you, I think my buckets are first responders and veterans. Bucket number 2 is agriculture, which may seem completely out of, like, I've never worked in the field, I've never owned a tractor, but food and security is Florida security. If we do not manage land, staying in farm, staying in crop, you and I will suffer. Our children will pay the price because we will have to bend the knee to our enemies and our competitors in a way that if we would have just taken a little forward-leaning policy approach when it comes to the problem is you and I just go to Publix and we get our food and we think that's where it comes from. Not everyone else is in the same bucket until you realize what the challenge of getting that food to your grocery store was. And then you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about that more. The third one is infrastructure, right? So I was on the board here of the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority. I had zero, in my mind, business being on that board because
Were you there with Greg?
I helped bring Greg. I definitely want to talk that story.
Okay.
Greg is legitimately my dude, all right? So infrastructure, those are the 3 pillars to me that without that core being worked on and protected, you can't have any fancy stuff. You know what I mean? You can't have anything else. So that's where I'm pouring into that world. So let's talk about Greg.
Greg Slater, right? CEO of THEA, Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority.
You love him?
Love him. Love him. He did it's funny. We were at the Tampa Downtown Partnership Forum. I was on the panelist there. And David and I were there hanging out, and we were kind of getting ready to leave. That it lasted for a long time, right? So we're kind of packing up. And Greg gets up there and starts his presentation. And you would imagine a guy that's the CEO of a highway authority would only want to talk about how many freaking cars can we get down the road on this thing, and what's the fastest way to get from A to B. But he brought this context of like, this expressway shouldn't be in the middle of an urban core. How do we be a good neighbor? How do we fit within the community? How do we build space?
Right.
How do we build spaces under the expressway to accommodate the city? Like, he just came with this totally different perspective, so much so that David was like, I sat back down. I didn't even want to leave the room. Like,
he got you, man.
He just gets it, man. He really does gets it. And his pedigree is incredible. Former Secretary of Transportation for Maryland. Mm-hmm. You probably know more than I do.
Listen, transportation is the most boring thing in the world if you let it. He brings the sexy to transportation.
Totally.
Right? And that's why we got him. So back up. I had worked for the governor. I had my law firm. Got this Rick Scott, helping him on his reelection. I paused it. I had another attorney run my cases while I worked for him. And then I said, our deal was, I'll do that for you, but I got my law firm. I don't need a job. And then he keeps trying to hire me to do something. I was like, I'm good. So then finally they call and they're like, he really wants you to be on the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority. I was like, come on, really? I was like, I don't know anything about it. So I met with him and I'm trying to convince him that I'm not the guy. And he goes, dude, he didn't say dude. Danny, do you know I don't like taxes? Yes, sir. Do you know how to drive a car? Yes, sir. You're qualified. And I was like, really? So I went in the board, eyes wide open. But like the way I do something, like if I'm going to be in, I'm in. Like, so I'm behind the scenes. I'm going to when we're building things. one of the greatest moments of pride of my life. I will be my abuelo, like to the day I die. So, we built the overhead on the Gandhi, right? And I feel about it as if I am the constructor, So we're driving on it, and I have 7 kids, and when we go through the on the road, I'm like, kids, and they're like, we know, Poppy, you helped build this road, and that's when I realized that I've become my grandfather.
You have 7 children. What's the age range there?
20, 19, 17, 13, 11, 10, 6.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and you're a father involved and you're a state rep.
That's
I don't know.
Yeah, you saw my boy here, right?
He's here today.
That's
you're
part
taking
of his
care
education.
of him. You're calling the doctor, I would assume. I don't know.
That's it. That's why we were a little bit late.
What was it though? Was it like bring your kid to work day for you?
I made it that way. So Tony, like the one that I'm telling you wants to get into real estate and going to probably serve this country a little bit too. So for me, part of his education is about learning how to be a good, responsible man, right? If you're not going to be a contributing member of society, you don't get to run around my last name, right? So I can't separate it from him. So we're going to pour it in. So what we would do is like we'd go to the West Tampa Sandwich Shop. He's on my hip. If you wanted me to serve on a nonprofit board, I'm bringing my kid with me. I'm bringing my kids.
Wow.
And they get to watch. So they get to see how dad interacted with other men and in other situations. And you think, man, they're not watching. And so now that I watch Tony, he's the 20-year-old who's at FSU. I watch Tony operate. I'm like, oh, the dude was watching, right?
Wow.
He interned this past semester at a lobbying firm. And so I would be, and recently I will tell the story all the time. I would be walking around and I'd look down the hallway and here comes your boy in a suit. And I'm like,
that's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. But probably really satisfying as a father too.
Bro,
yeah.
It was a pinnacle moment for me. So then he comes to me and he's like, man, I'm passing out this form for the firm. I'm like, how's it going? He goes, yeah, this one guy was a real jerk. And I'm like, who was it? And he goes, I ain't going to tell you. I was like, did you tell him you were my son? And he goes, I ain't tell him that either. Dad, nobody knows I'm your son here. I was like, why? He goes, because I want to make my own name.
Wow.
And I was like, so I turned around and I was like, I'm not going to cry. You know what I mean? But I got to tell you something. That got in my head like there's no tomorrow because that's all I want. I want kids who give as much as they get, right? So if my son wants to, like we separated, his mom and I separated. If he's going to be living in Davis Island and he wants to be a member of the city of Tampa and he wants to thrive, okay, I want you to make money, but that's not how we're going to celebrate your rise to success. What did you do for your fellow man? How did you affect others? And how did you make this community better? If that's not on your resume, I don't give a damn if you're $1 million a year guy. You know what I mean? So my brother, oh God, the dude crushes it. My personality, my abilities, focuses towards making money. The dude crushes it. He calls me all the time. He goes, you're so dumb.
What's your sibling lineup? Is it just you two?
It's 3 of us. It's all boys.
All boys.
But he's like, I can't tell you. He's like, you're so dumb. You could make so much money. And he's probably right. But that's not my motivation focus. You know what I mean? Like I make money to feed those kids, to make sure I can live and make sure I can be comfortable. And then the rest is, it just doesn't motivate me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so my son seems to have both his mom and his dad, which is great. But if they don't have that core component of service, then I will think I have failed. So when you saw my other son with me, that's part of his training. We're bringing him around so he can see how I interact with.
Well, I heard you tell him too that he must have felt bad that he couldn't stick with you today.
He did.
Like he felt like, damn, I'm kind of letting my dad down that I can't stick around.
Yeah, he said that. I really.
But you said, hey, bro, I love you. Like don't worry about it. Come next time.
Yeah, that's it. He'll be back soon.
That was cool to hear,
Thank you, man. I didn't know you heard that.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I'm a father of 2 boys, and I'm just starting out, right? Like it's a 2-year-old and a little 1-month-old.
It's magic.
So it's the 2-year-old starting to talk and interact and form his own personality. And now I'm starting to flip the switch. Like, wait a second, he's not a baby.
That's right.
I really need to start paying attention to what I say, how I act, and show him and lead the way and all that sort of stuff. So I do pay attention when other dads do that.
It matters. It's a big deal. All right, back to Greg. So the Expressway Authority, I'm on it. We had Joe Wagner. And so Joe was the perfect CEO for that agency because it was not an agency without controversy for a long time. In fact, there were moments where the state legislator was going to take it back, and that was very real. So Joe brought a stability, a financial stability, and a eye towards conservative future going forward. So when he announced he was going to resign, I tried to convince him not to. Just so you know that and he was set, he earned it, and so I had this vision about THEA, right? It's not just a road. You understand that? Like it is
Right.
a central. We have inserted a road in the middle of everything we find holy, and you think that shouldn't be a contributor? It's an economic engine. You know what I mean? So we're stable, we're secure. Let's grow. Okay.
Right.
A lot of the problems in Hillsborough County stem from the speed of government, right? And then when you add road building into it, triple the speed of or the slowness, right? And how it slows down. THEA can be a very nimble thing. We can operate, they can operate all over the region if they get invited to and are asked to. So, right, Pinellas has shown interest in like building parts out. All I need is, do you want me to do it? Yeah.
Right, because we should can you explain kind of THEA's authority? It's pretty powerful in terms of what it can do in its operations.
It's a regional authority. It is a regional quasi-governmental authority, right, that operates under the authority of the state legislature. It's its own district. It manages its own money. It's got a board of directors that has a city of Tampa representative, Hillsborough County representative, 4 appointees from the governor, and the local secretary of the DOT is on the board. So its idea is it provides transportation solutions as close to nimble as possible.
Not just the Silman Expressway. People think, oh, that's what that is. No. They are
not
real
just-
estate. They have
Correct.
an opportunity to do like multimodal centers.
They can, yeah. The traditional is it only builds roads. But when we talk about like THEA was the autonomous vehicle test bed for the country, right? One of 3 centers. It even operated on a federal grant, and most people didn't even know it. Connectivity, autonomous vehicles. So as we're at this point when we're looking for a new CEO, Vince is the chair. I love this guy. Have you met him?
Mm-mm.
You got to have him on here. He's one of the most pragmatic dudes there is. He is. I learned more about running a business by running this authority in a way that is accountable, respectful, but demands like success from that guy. He's phenomenal. So we said, this isn't just a highway, right? This is a vision.
Yeah.
And so step 1, they did the bureaucracy did the traditional. We'll put out we'll search internally. And I remember regretting keeping my mouth shut about that process. So we gave an offer to somebody else, and the guy was very qualified, but I was not happy, right? I think he was out of Georgia somewhere. He said no. And I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
So I pushed, and I'm not trying to say Danny was like the leader. I pushed, and Vince and everybody agreed that we should do a national scope. Let's find, we are a national asset. Let's bring in the talent. And Greg just told this story the other day. I totally forgot this happened, right? So as we're doing interviews, like the bureaucratic part of the process was like they had an interview for Greg and I. Then there was he went around with the staff. It was like a 2 or 3 day process. And then when they came to interview with me as a board member, I had like 2 handlers and Greg, and I was like an attorney and an admin. I was like, what are y'all doing here? And they're like, oh, we're here to make sure. I was like, I don't need you. And he's like. And then Greg's like, hasn't met me. He goes, I don't know, y'all can get out. And Greg was like this.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I needed to know who he really was.
Right.
Understand? He felt good. He bonded with all the people, like on his own. And he's talking to like the secretary. I am not a judgy person, but if I see you treating someone that really ain't gonna benefit you that much, your waitress,
right,
your mop slinger, your welder, and you treat them good and you treat them like with respect, that tells me a lot about you. And it has to be sincere, because people have heard other people say this and they're like, hello, waitress, how are you? That's not gonna work. He did it. So when we kicked those people out, he and I are one-on-one, and I literally, we spoke in a manner that most people wouldn't, I think, take with that great, because I was very raw. And what I told him that I thought that this place could do is it could help change the dynamic of how we see Tampa, how we see how we see the region, and how we want to grow.
Mm,
Okay, so THEA today is a road. What if tomorrow it's a fleet management system,
right.
right? Like what if Uber, and I'm a firm believer of this, Uber and those little moped things or whatever, those
Right.
scooters, they are training us to get used to the idea of not being in our own car, right?
Right.
Or only using and paying for what we need,
Right. An
right?
app-based
An
system.
app.
Yeah.
So what if we get to a point where autonomous vehicles are a thing and
Yeah.
THEA invests in it, and you say, "Hey, I want to go to downtown," bam, they
And it's
come
a
and get
THEA
you.
vehicle, like a THEA autonomous
And they can
vehicle.
do it like this. They can be the nimble ones that push that kind of thing
Whereas
forward.
the government is just slow and you got to get this
That's
approval and blah, blah,
exactly
blah.
right. Listen, on the FDEX bill that we ran, we preempted EV charging stations to the state. Why? Because in Miami, you had this one set of regulations. Developers had to go through 55 hoops, where in Dixie County, they're like, can you please put one in?
Right.
Right. And so laws should be stable and predictable so that you can plan,
Yep.
right? And then you can react as a citizen and a business owner. So we created one set of rules for that, right? And so that's what we want to be able to see statewide so that businesses and people can thrive. So we're expanding. One of the things that I said to him when I said, would you be willing and open to look at the south and eastern part of the county? He goes, I follow the growth. And I was like, what a perfect answer. It wasn't, yes, Danny, that's because what you want. He's like, I follow the growth and the need where we are here to move people in a responsible. One of the things that I loved about this guy. So one time, who would think that their government actually gives a damn if they're not providing the service that they do? So Greg once does this presentation and he's like, we're having traffic jam in the mornings at where it connects off of 275. And he goes, that's not right. People are paying us for a service and we're not delivering it.
Wow.
Here's my plan for X. And I was like, looked around like, did anyone just hear the government-ish guy just say our customer is not getting what they want?
Very, very different way of looking at that interaction.
Very different way. And I don't blame the FDOT guy if he doesn't see it that way. But Greg is responsive to the people that are paying his salary. Right. Which is not me. It's the driver every day that pays the toll. Right. So I know he's looking down at 301 and it's very, very needed. And that was part of our discussions that we were talking about. And here's what I tell the people down in South and East County. We're advocating for this road. I know that you want it. I know that you say that you need it. But I need you to understand what this is going to happen, what's going to happen here. The connectivity of roads changes the landscape of geography, right? You want this road because you want to get to work fast. Everyone else sees this road and you're going to get more development, more businesses, more opportunities, right? And more range. Manatee will now become what Pasco County was before the veterans and the Suncoast. Back in the day, you never said, I live in Newport Richey and work in downtown. That was not a thing that you did. Now, because of those roads, boom, we get people. And now we've improved affordability for those people because a house up there may not be, or used to not be, as much as it is down in South Tampa. So that's going to happen to South Hillsborough County. We know that's going to happen. Are you ready for it, right? And people say yes because they want that, but I don't think they know.
Well, the thing that I'm having a little bit of trouble with is that road, the Selman, it was always the Crosstown Expressway. That's right. And so it went from Gandy to Brandon. This is pre-road over road on the east side and obviously pre-double-decker on Gandy. And now with this extension in these roads on top of roads, it's become like another interstate highway.
Right.
And the people that live in the city are going to be deeply affected by that.
That's right.
It's a lot more traffic. I believe there's an additional travel lane, north and southbound, involved in the project. So I've personally been wrestling with it because on one side I'm like, man, it was sort of sold to the community as like a crosstown little quick thing, but now it absolutely is a regional transportation asset. I mean, people that live out in Brandon go to St. Pete on it.
100%.
How do you balance that out? Because I'm having a tough time agreeing with being on the side of an expansion. I just think the city in so many ways is having a difficult time get what it needs in terms of transportation. And another highway going straight through the city, through the downtown, through the urban core doesn't really match up with like
The vision.
the vision, the walkability, and everything that I hope to see in my city.
100%. So I guess when I come to the decision, if I was still a board member, I come from, remember my chapter begins 2003. That's my Tampa, right? You were born and raised here, plus you have a great history here. I never saw that road as just the connector.
Yeah.
Right. It always to me was a regional asset, but it doesn't mean you can't be sensitive to that point. So even before Greg, we started doing those pocket parks, right? The highway committed to being a partner with South Tampa. So for example, when South Tampa was like, yo, the noise,
right,
up come those walls, paid for, like right away, paid for. When we had that problem where someone crossed over the road and then people were like, we're having these deaths here, we built the barrier. Now, when they're building the extra lane and it has become a regional asset, the balance of equities is this is a road that funnels people out during emergencies. Okay. It's a necessary thing. In fact, Greg will tell you that the overhead has capacity usage that we were projecting for almost 20 years from now, 15 years from now. It's already there right now. So we built it with one lane each way at the top, and we built it to be able to expand. And I think they're going to have to consider already putting the second lane just because there's so much traffic. So what do? You say, all right, this is the reality we're in now. Don't love it, right? Because it's going right through that neighborhood, right? I don't know who planned that, right? That seems weird, but I get it. It's there now. What can we do to be a great partner to the community? And I think because they are on the ground, right? Meaning the agency is on the ground listening, you see him now putting in lots of investments like the Bay to Bay.
Yes.
Right? That money.
Yes.
That should just be an ugly overpass.
Yes. This right here is what gives me comfort.
That's
that's why I was fired up when Greg was talking
100%.
about we're picking up the trash 5 days a week. We're doing the landscaping. Like he made expanding a highway through a city, at least like I could taste that. I can get comfortable
100%.
with that.
And so
the commitment to that good neighborism.
It's a commitment made in money and in policy. Right?
Yeah.
Everyone can talk about it, but like the guy and the agency are actually putting their money in. Underneath, like you see all the pocket parks, but now even more so, we're talking about connectivity maybe of downtown. Like if we get that stadium or we get the area, you could see garages like where the THEA builds garages, right?
Yes.
In order, because the city of Tampa might say it could take us a bond movement for forever to fund another parking garage. We go, hey, we got this property. Let's put it up, multi-use it. You know what I mean? Business, garage, maybe residential, map it to like the Ybor channel area.
Right.
And that flexibility to be a good partner and provide service is based on putting your hand on what the community needs.
Right.
This is what I told Greg. Don't ever let me be the governor. And he goes, why? I said, you ain't staying in Tampa, right? Because the way we treat, and I know this is a microcosm to a state, right? So this is not a condemnation of the Secretary of Transportation or the governor. This is a mindset that I would bring to a leadership status when we come to transportation. This is not a road. This is a member of the community, right? That helps move the community in it. You've got to be involved, and he is setting a standard, right, that we set for him, but he is exceeding that by doing I'm uncomfortable with it, man. I my kids are here.
Yeah.
Our houses are super expensive. We move here for a reason. And now I got a highway running right through it. What can I do? Let's build this. Let's mitigate flows. Let's be a good partner. Make it
Well,
pretty.
he even said something I thought was crazy where he's like, if the cleaning crews aren't out there, we're going to fine them or something like
100%.
that. He's like, if it's like a 5-day-a-week clean schedule, if they're not there picking up trash,
And
we're going to fine.
it.
He was dead serious when he's talked about some of this stuff.
Can I tell you something about the Gandy? So this is a perfect example of the effort that this road might go through that maybe a traditional DOT structure might not. So the first attempt at building the overpass was 5 years prior, and it failed miserably.
Yeah.
Because what they didn't tell their story. Remember we talked about the importance of that. This time, we committed to every business owner being a partner in the plan.
Huge.
And what's your concern? Ultimately, this is what it turned out to. hey man, I'm nervous that your construction is going to take away. I said, I think that's fair, right? But what if I propose this? I'm going to build a road that will bring you more business because we're taking away the people that will pay me not to come see you. And they're
Right.
like, I don't
Yeah.
get it. So it took a moment for them to get it.
If I'm going from Pinellas County to Brandon,
I'm
why
not-
am I clogging up the road in front of your business? Put me on that. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to go to your,
Right.
there's a couple of businesses in there, like your 7-Eleven might stop in, but not your, your furniture store. That's
A lot of that pinch point with traffic on Gandy was just people going from Pinellas to East Hillsborough.
100%.
It was just pass through.
100%. Now we've clocked travel times to like St. Pete to Tampa, which remember, it helps. Like if you want me to go to Pinellas, I feel like I got to go find my passport. I got to go mentally ready. Like I'm going to a TSA.
From where you're at. Yeah.
But even when I lived in like hardcore Tampa.
Yeah.
And I know that's a perception thing, but now I'm like, man, I could just fly by. There's a super
you brought up something interesting, which is baseball. So zoom back into Ybor Harbor, David, because this is where I'm sort of tracking it probably can go, just because the county's talked about it. The real estate ownership has control of the site. You've got some deals in motion to be sort of in this area. You brought up, THEA, would be a part of that. THEA would be a huge part of that. Huge part of that. I mean, that's where people would sort of connect to. I would imagine you'd build an off-ramp to the stadium right there.
I believe. I don't want to speak for him. I've seen plans to that effect, and I've been gone for a little while. But this is not a new thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, we were talking about this. I served on the board 5 years. I've been gone for 3. So 8-10 years before that, they were talking about the connectivity of what if we had something down there that
on that
was
waterfront
an anchor,
right?
So it could have been a retail development, it could be baseball, it could be soccer,
convention, whatever,
right? So all of that is ultra real, and I know that the openness to make the flow come in, you can foresee, and I think part of it is, let's just say in that corner right here underneath,
yep,
you bring traffic right off there. Build them a parking station that you can almost go directly in. But really think about this. If I purchase in this area, right, and you're telling me that I have a baseball and I'm going to have traffic on my road, how many games is it? Like 80-something possible games?
Yeah, it's a
half
lot.
of them are home and half of them are away. I'm not interested in your traffic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I come here for a reason, but I didn't sign up for your traffic. Getting these people onto a major artery immediately will make that one of the most unique baseball, soccer stadiums ever created.
Yeah, if people can imagine, you live in Parrish or even all the way down to like Lakewood Ranch. You go to a ball game here. You might not even have to get in the city traffic at all, and yet you're in the middle of an urban core. Like you could be up 75, pop on the crosstown, go directly to the game and out. That's a game changer.
Yeah, when we go to Raymond James, TPD's got to figure it out. They've got their lanes. It took a long time to get there, but you still go through lights. Here, you're literally getting on the highway going 60 plus within minutes.
Do you, from your perception and what you know, does it make sense to be in that location for that reason?
I think it's like one of the coolest concepts that we could have. And so you sit and talk to Daryl, and what is cool about that is, first of all, you've talked to him, right?
Yeah, he's been on the show.
And when I talk to him, I feel like I'm buzzing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and he'll be like,
yeah, both you guys are at the opposing energy spectrum, right? It's like,
yeah, that's cool.
And you're like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this.
Even when he's telling you, like, he's like got this calmness of like,
he's very methodical, and every word is well thought out, and it's a calm way of explaining things.
I need to
which is the
have a
opposite
tattoo that says "Be like Daryl," right? Because
he balances you out, right?
When I'm talking about this, I'm like, this is revolutionary. You know what's super important to me? So Ybor City to me is the gem that we cannot figure out how to polish. Okay,
yeah.
Ybor City is it has so much history for so many types, right? That our job should be to preserve our history there like there's no tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The face of downtown changes, right? Some parts are original, like our city hall looks so cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is a cultural center, right?
Well, I think it's good that we all start from there.
Right.
It's a gem, period.
Correct.
And then we figure out how to
shine it.
Right, shine it.
Right. We got to figure out many attempts to shine it.
Sure.
But this attempt right here is the one that I feel like I have the most faith in, right?
Yeah.
Because it comes from a business perspective, not a government-led one.
Right.
Does that make sense? So a government could say, hey, I want to make it this, but governments don't do a lot of things great. When someone has a vested interest, right? They have a profit motivation, right? But they then have a emotional connection. And I believe he and a lot of other of the team,
Big time.
and they have an emotional connection and they're putting their dollars to it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't ask for anything better. So I love the Ybor Harbor concept. I love that. Have you been to Atlanta?
Yes.
And seen their stadium?
Not to the stadium now.
Bro, you got to go and see it because it's the concept that we will do on steroids, right? So you go to that.
Do you want to pull up Atlanta just so we can see the area? That you'd probably type in just Brave Stadium and it'll pop up.
So you come in and you see it and you walk and it is you're in an experience, right?
Yeah.
And the stadium is there, but it's surrounded by buildings, restaurants. It's like it was like fabriced in.
Yes.
Versus like a Joe Robbie Stadium down in South Florida where you're down there and it's not. It's so far away.
They basically built Wrigleyville. They basically right. They built a section of an urban area with a ballpark.
Hotels down here. You walk in, restaurants, event space, concert venues,
and there's your highway. Right.
There's your highway, and then the stadium. It just feels cool. And I'm not a baseball guy, just for the record. I'm not even a big sports guy, but that's a super cool experience. But notice how small.
Right.
It's we would do that
exactly
on scale times 10x, right? And we would ours will be even better. But this is the great part of the vision. So we'll do things to support that, right? And we'll find the state level support and funding when appropriate, right? If we can do that. I know like Michael Owen already helped like try to bring some in and get some funding to do some things that state should do anyways. But this is a private effort led by people who love Tampa.
Which is always great because it's like, hey, the private sector is doing their thing, but then the public is benefiting. That's the best case scenario. But there will need to be some sort of a tax dollar component.
Yeah, when we got to figure that out. I'll tell you what, there's no temperature right now for funding a stadium in the way that Raymond James got sent. And I think the guys know that, right? They know that it'll have to be some sort of
which is good.
Like you get like straddled with someone's decisions 30 years later that has tied my hands when they were on the county commission, and you begin to resent that very much. I wouldn't want to do that.
I'm seeing a lot at the county, but also the state level. A couple of people I've had on the show and a couple of people I've talked to. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Is being very conservative financially. Yeah. And not going deep into debt. Maybe partly because of an ideology, but partly also, I would imagine you can see places around the country where they did that and it didn't end up well.
Brother, we are we are probably a white paper level study, right, on how we do it. Maybe we were not even too lean, right? So we have reserves. We have the lowest debt per individual. We're paying off our debt. We're cutting taxes because ultimately, like the idea is I tax you, the government taxes you, in order to fund the basic operations of government. The debate between ideologies is, what does the basic function of government mean?
Right.
Does that mean I'm like building parks, roads, police? Or does that mean I'm building that plus we're paying for like bald eagle research and seeing what
or baseball stadiums, right?
Exactly. So in Florida, we are bigger than New York now, population-wise, and our budget is a third.
That's so crazy.
Think about that, right? And our budget is a third. We don't have bloat, and we hold it accountable. That means uncomfortable conversations definitely take place, and that is where you have to put your big boy and girl pants on when you want to be a rep and look people in the eye and go, I'm sympathetic. I want to help that. That's not an appropriate use of government dollars. I'm not going to tax someone in Waimama or West Palm Beach, Florida, so that you can do X. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so those are tough decisions that we have to do, and those are realities. I don't think people were used to doing it because it really is easy, bro, to go in and go, nobody's going to notice.
Yeah,
sure. Like they're used to paying the tax, they won't even know. And half the people don't know what they're getting taxed for anyways.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a really big deal that we have this attitude. I liked it, and it's good for you. It's good for me, right? It's good for our kids.
But we also need things here in Florida that costs a lot of money. A
Yep.
baseball stadium is not a part of that. I think it would be a massive benefit, but I'm more talking about like, and you actually can speak to this. You might have even been in Rick Scott's office 20, 25 years ago when they wanted to bring funding for like a high-speed rail system in Florida,
Right.
right? And Rick Scott vetoed that.
Correct.
What's the mindset there?
So in that, if I remember correctly, what ends up happening is it's a match program, like so that you were going to get $2 billion, and so and we would have to spend the rest. The end result, I think, what studies were showing was that we would end up holding the bag on more than we had bargained for, and that often happens with these federal match programs, right? So look at California. California took the money, and
Right. Right. Perfect
Trump
example.
just stopped it, right?
Yeah.
There
Well,
is-
you could look it up, David, because it's actually insane. I think they spent, I mean, the number's ridiculous.
they don't
but
have any
they don't,
lanes.
well, yeah, they don't have anything to show
Lines,
for
I
it.
mean, yeah.
Yeah, they don't have any trains.
Imagine.
So it's like, imagine if we had that here, what we would be dealing with.
1,000.
But we also kind of need something like
So,
that.
so here's my philosophy.
Sure.
And so remember we talk about different spectrums of Republican. So I am as fiscally conservative as we should be, and I think I am. But I believe that a spend on government function is not an illegitimate or improper use of your tax dollars. I need roads. You came to Florida. I need to be able to move you, right? I need cops. I got to be able to pay for them. We need ports and infrastructure. That costs money. Teachers cost money. If you ever go to a state building, I am unimpressed by the way that we take care of those buildings and those people. We're Florida. Like,
Yeah.
If I spent money on a decent workspace that is forward showing of Florida's prominence and elegance, I don't really think you'd be that mad at me if I did that and that lasts for, 50 years. Man, we got in Tallahassee, we got buildings with buckets, literally buckets when it rains, water's going in. That's not representative, and I don't think that's what people I don't think people would mind to spend on what we find necessary. So there's a sweet spot, right? Like I'm not going to spend money on I don't know, horses for, you and your family to ride around in.
Right.
But I might ask you to pay taxes to build good, solid buildings so that if, your county gets destroyed, we have a backup. Like I have an idea of like having 7 regional EOC centers, like so that if Hillsborough got wiped out, they could do a continuity of government and fall back. Hillsborough can't pay for that. The state pays for that, right? And it's a regional asset that can be co-used. Things like that,
Yeah.
but it just costs money. And I know that we're talking, it's very simple for you and I to be here, but when you're making the decisions, it's hard. But I think we have room in there. It's just a philosophy thing. If I was governor, I think I'd have like 1 term because I'd be like, let's spend some money. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
But we're going to do that in a reasonable way.
Well, do you recognize the need for some sort of a transportation plan that extends beyond the automobile?
So I do, but I don't think that trains are going to be the answer necessarily. Like, let's go back to THEA, for example, right?
Yeah.
And this experience, like Elon Musk and the EV people, they're doing like all the work for us, and
Right.
they're mapping, they're data building, they're creating processes and algorithms that will drive your car.
They're doing the same thing in the space sector too, right?
100%. They're pushing, right? And then we will move in and go, oh, thanks, guy, for doing all this
Yes.
work. So how that would translate to us is we are the half-mile dilemma people, bro. Like if you gave me a train which is allegedly coming from Orlando to Tampa, I'm like, cool.
I was just going to bring up Brightline because that's the exact parallel.
Correct.
Like here's a private company
Correct.
moving forward in this. Maybe one day the state comes in with support.
Maybe.
I don't know.
And I think we have supported them, to be honest with you. I don't want to speak out of turn. You bring me to Tampa, now what?
Right.
I'm an attorney. I got to get to court. I'm in a suit. Like, we don't have anything but summer year long, right? And so now I got to get there. I'm drenched. We ain't doing that. Our culture isn't that, right?
Yeah.
I drive up, I walk 5 feet, I sweat for 2 minutes, and I got to get in the air conditioning.
So you're saying you and sort of the state would support the private company, i.e. Brightline, maybe coming in first, and then with some success, with some increased development, with a stadium, and you get more people
Maybe.
5-10 years down the road, then the state may come in and
Maybe. Look, I think there's investment to help them that comes early. The debate is, what have you done so far, and let's see that track record. And I know that they're up there asking for support,
Sure.
and they have been met with, I think, amenable reactions. What I'm saying is, how do I get someone from their house to work in a way that Floridians will accept in our culture, even if we change their culture slightly, right? School buses. How do I get you to school in a manner that is safe, that doesn't clog the road? We don't have car lines, right? Like
Yeah.
big car lines. You got to think, we've thought this way, it's not working, but those scooters taught people that they could call the car.
Mm-hmm.
What if I think the future for us is the autonomous or more connected vehicle that gets called out. I don't even think the bus is the future. Our ridership here in Florida, in Hillsborough, I think Hart told me 12 million unique riders, but it's more centralized in its usage.
Yeah, talk to your buddy Wassel about that. He's
Yeah.
got a whole thing. I don't think that it's as much as that. I think it's a lot less.
Is
actually.
it like, okay, I might be wrong.
I think it's like abysmal. I mean, we talked about it on the show, but the amount of money we spend for that program, and then you look at how many people use it, it's like not
right. So is that a
but
good
to your point? Yeah.
But is that a good investment maybe the technology is not there yet to answer us?
Well, maybe it's also not done the right way. For example, maybe, and also too, why can't we think of things in phases? And to example that, like the city paid Hart, I think, over $1 million to make bus route 1 free, which is USF area to downtown. Right. Super successful, a lot of ridership. That's great. What if that's the first phase? The second phase is a dedicated line for that bus. Just like an independent line protected from traffic. Then one day that could become rail. Like, why does it always have to be rail or nothing? What if it was in a sort of phase system where you're testing different routes? Take it slow with the money.
It could be institutional knowledge based too. Remember we talked about the leadership changes so often that the visions change as well. So government works in projects, right? Not necessarily in like just tiered visions systems, like where your corporation could be like, hey, we're going to grow to X.
Right. The private sector is much more creative in that way.
The government part is probably a lot more reactive to the situation, not proactive. Now, we get people that are proactive and they get into the buzzsaw of the reality of the way the system is organized. And I'm not saying it's a doomsday project. You get people like Greg thinking and
well,
leading,
that's right.
And we can get there.
Exactly.
We can completely get there.
One thing too is I think it's important to think about. I mean, we're dealing with a huge state here, so how you get from Tampa to Orlando is different. How we can get from right here where we're sitting to Carmine's to go have a Cuban sandwich in Ybor.
That's exactly
and so separating transportation in that way too, because in the urban core, we are seeing a lot of nice walkability. We're getting these wide sidewalks. You're seeing more people out and about. The trolley's always packed. David takes it to work sometimes. Like people really are using the city as a city, but we can't pretend that people that work in the city and live out in your district are going to of want to live that same lifestyle.
So it has to be much more localized solutions
for
that. But that's a perfect example. Like someone said, hey, we're going to protect the trolley no matter what. And then we called them dumb. You know what I mean? Like, this is dumb. Like, this thing comes back and forth. No one was on it for forever. You remember that?
Yes.
Like, we even talked about, like, I think maybe it's days.
Yeah.
And now you had...
Now it's cranking.
Water Street.
Yep.
And you had, like, and now it's cranking. You're right. I do see it busy.
Well, and then another point on that is how early does the government go in and do something like that? Because I guarantee, had that trolley not put in 25 years ago, good luck getting it today.
Not a chance.
So
You're
being
right.
forward thinking for some of these projects, as example, the Rick Scott with the rail,
no,
who knows the details, but
maybe
if that was implemented 25 years ago,
that's right.
We would
maybe
be in
a different
position.
spot. I can see that.
So it's like, was it the right call? Who knows? But certainly getting ahead of the game is important with
100%.
Transportation.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're always playing catch up.
And that is the unfortunate part of I feel like now we're talking in circles. That's the first part of government. It doesn't do that.
It is.
It doesn't.
It always comes back to that.
It always
comes back to that.
That's a really good point.
Rep Alvarez, thank you for being here. This
Brother,
was a lot of fun
awesome.
Today.
We got to do it again.
Absolutely. I
could
feel like we
probably
talked
talk for
about it
hours.
all. We totally could.
We could.
If people want to get in touch with you, whether they're in your district or not, how can they do that?
Online, Facebook, phone number?
Whatever you want to share.
No, we have a Facebook page, Danny Alvarez, it's my personal page. I've never created another one. I'm just going to talk to you from me. And then we have our website,
FloridaHouse.gov.
Yeah, that one right there. And it'll tell you our number, which I will read off to you, pretending that I have that memorized.
What's district office right here?
So that's just a PO box. It's the phone numbers. Our office is virtual. So if you wanted to reach me, you call at 813-768-0940, or you email reese.may@myfloridahouse.gov, and we will get back to you immediately.
District 69, Danny Alvarez.
Man, that is a horrible picture. Love you, man. Thank you for having us.
It's a beautiful picture.
Oh,
All
thank
right.
you so much.
That's it. Bye, everybody.
Talk to you soon.